Hey guys, it's RiatsBoy89 and today I'm gonna be watching this video called Try Not to Suffer Hardest Edition. And well, I'm already scared because I'm really bad at not suffering. I mean, like, I suffer at everything. But hey, yeah, let's get on with the video, shall we?
Man, what a fucking tryhard.
So the hottest anime to come out this year thus far has finally come to an end and everyone is talking about it. Re:Zero, anime of 2016. It's the new season of Everybody Loves Amelia, and Rem is the second coming of fucking Christ apparently. And as with any big show, the Re:Zero hype train has been running wild for the past 2 seasons. But how well does it stand up to the hype that it's gotten this year? Well, if you've read the title of this video, you probably already know, but let's pretend a single sentence doesn't sum up my entire opinion, alright? We're introduced to the world of Re:Zero, a stereotypical fantasy world complete with everything you need from your usual fantasy settings. Let's see, do we have bright colors?
Check.
Magic? Check. Humanoid beings that look like animals?
Check.
Chivalrous knights who look like they belong in K-pop groups?
Definitely check.
An innocent princess to serve as the main love interest?
Check.
An array of waifus that are way better but have no chance of winning?
Check.
A sexy cat lady you're attracted to who you're told has a penis?
Check.
And an unlikely hero who's transported to said world. Yes, our unlikely hero this time is Subaru, a self-proclaimed otaku who's introduced to this world to do something by some time, but the twist is that he has the power to reset his life to a point in time every time he dies. Kinda like a video game. Exactly like a video game. The reset mechanics even come complete with checkpoints in the form of a buff Irishman offering you apples every time Subaru makes it past an achievement. What actually counts as a checkpoint is something defined by someone, and that's pretty much all I can say because I have about as much of an idea of what the central themes of the plot are in the last episode as I did in the first episode, but I'll get back to that. See, what Re:Zero is about is the journey that Subaru takes to get past whatever obstacle comes his way, often having to die repeatedly to figure out the correct thing to do. So you see all those comments you see on the internet telling Subaru to fucking kill yourself. They're just trying to offer some form of genuine advice. Probably. Literally fucking kill yourself though. The first thing that really stands out about this show is its surprisingly dark and gory content, which contrasts the saturated colours and bright tone the series initially gives off. Yet it manages to pull this off without ever feeling too out of place or edgy. It's not teen angst we're dealing with here, and it's not violence for the sake of violence either. It does well to highlight the fact that the act of dying is not a pretty thing, showing us why Subaru doesn't want to off himself whenever there's just the slightest hint of trouble. But the series truly starts to shine during the second half when the mechanics of the time reset are used to the greatest effect. And what effect is this? Re:Zero does a wonderful job of setting up the worst possible scenarios for Subaru to go through, as we see him suffer episode upon episode with seemingly nothing ever going right for him, and every decision he makes leading to more despair, which is luckily signaled by a very useful sound effect every time something bad happens, in case the viewer couldn't tell that the bloodied corpse on the floor with its guts spilled out everywhere is probably a sign that something bad is about to happen. But thanks for letting me know anyway, anime. It was really useful.
What's happening? No. No!
It's all about the suffering that Subaru goes through because people he cares for are murdered, tortured, and he goes through some horrific events. And it works because thanks to the time reset, you can put your character through multiple traumatic events with no consequence to the overall plot. And Re:Zero definitely pushes this concept to the limit. Every mechanic is present to invoke the most drama possible, leading to some very emotional and shocking moments throughout the show. Because even though we know that everything can be reset upon death, it doesn't detract from the fact that Subaru has to experience all these things happening to him, and that everyone aside from him doesn't know that the events can be reset, as this is their reality and they act that way. So while the mechanics do work like a game, it certainly never does feel like one, as it's never as simple as just pressing a reset button on the menu. We really feel for him as we essentially see a character mentally and physically beaten down repeatedly, but it does make for one hell of a gripping ride, even if I don't know what kind of shit he did to deserve all this happen to him. Seeing Subaru slowly transform from the bright optimistic person he was originally to the full-on mental breakdown is what really makes it such an endearing watch, as morbid as that sounds. As a character, Subaru, whether you think he's likable or not, is what carries this show. For all intents and purposes, the world he's thrown into is a pretty cliche fantasy world with cliche characters to boot. But Subaru himself is a breath of fresh air from the usual otaku protagonist who is transported into a fantasy world where he becomes a hero of some sort with no trouble at all. While he considers himself a hero initially, in a grand scheme of things, Subaru is almost entirely powerless compared to everyone else. He has a tremendous amount of character flaws, and he slowly realizes he is not the grand hero he thinks he is when the show makes this abundantly clear by the amount of trials he has to go through to achieve anything. His only weapons are the knowledge he gains on every cycle and his positive outlook on life, which is shown that 90% of the time means absolute dick. But those times when everything does come together and things work, it's remarkably satisfying, and the series does a great job of making you feel that. You ride the roller coaster of emotions with Subaru, and it's one hell of a ride with many ups and downs. Which brings me to my main criticism of the show, because after going through that exhilarating ride, after seeing Subaru suffer time and time again, learn from his mistakes and satisfyingly find the correct path through the obstacles, after all that you finally get off the suffering train and look back on the ride you just took, and you're left wondering, what exactly was the point of all that? Looking a bit closer at the series as a whole, ask yourself this: what exactly were the central themes of the plot? What was ReZero actually about? I mean, fuck, in one show we have the Antiques Roadshow, Hayate the Dickhead Butler, CSI Mansion, Rembo, the British Royal Family, Fantasy ISIS, and the Adventures of Moby Dick without anything really tying it all together. There is nothing really driving the plot for Subaru aside from worship Amelia and try not to die. You could maybe argue that the Royal Selection and the Witch's Resurrection is the central driving force, but those are only really background events to everything that is actually going on, and in the entire series, no real progress is made towards either of those plot points. The entire plot seemed to be completely reactive rather than proactive. At the beginning of each arc, you really had no idea where the plot was going, and that includes what could happen in the second season. Instead, it felt more like the author was thinking of every possible way to trigger some event to make Subaru suffer as much as possible. It never feels as natural as other dark shows that sees characters going through hardship because, as I said, there's no real rhyme or reason for the suffering as everything that happens is entirely reactive. In the end, you just kind of expect something to go wrong to make Subaru suffer because why the hell not? It's happened every time before. But apart from that, we're cool, right? I mean, all the characters are fine and everything. Like, all of us who watched it had no problems with anything the characters did or anything, right?
No! That. No, the other thing. Come on, I know it's just dangling off the tip of your tongue. Let me hear it just once, please. Wrong!
Yes, as far as characters goes, most of them had their own unique quirks and tropes that were nothing that we hadn't seen before, but the variety of character interactions were enough to keep them from being bland and unforgettable without the need of being fleshed out. But Giguk, isn't Rem best girl? How dare you not recognize the brilliance that is Rem? Rem is life, Rem is love, just look at her! ReZero, more like Rem Zero, am I right? Well, of course Rem is best girl. She is winner by fucking default because no other character even had the chance of doing something of any significance apart from her, which is a shame because the cast was filled with plenty of as interesting, if not more so, characters that never got the same amount of screen time as Rem did. Besides, the amount of Beatrice we got in the second half of the show was disgustingly non-existent, I suppose. But this never really was about the rest of the cast, as with shows like Steins Gate, you'll always have problems with developing characters when a show has a time loop structure, since relationships are constantly being reset and it's mainly up to the main character to carry all the developments himself. So while I've mentioned all the good things about Subaru as a character and how his development is what makes the show such an endearing watch, my biggest gripe is that his central driving force for anything he does, his love for Amelia, makes no goddamn sense. We're given very little reason as to why he fell so deeply in love pretty much immediately, especially when she doesn't even stand out from the rest of the female cast. I mean, sure, she's the first one to help him out, and she's nice, and Hey, you don't talk about Amelia like that, okay? You see this smile? I'm ready to fucking propose because of this smile. He just wants to see her smile. Oh, and she can smile. Fucking yay. It's a problem because pretty much every action he takes in the entire course of the series revolves around her. He blindly white knights her harder than a horny teenager at a gamer girl convention, and because of this the final few episodes of the show suffer, as instead of building up to a proper emotional climax, it kind of just feels cheesy and forced. And are you an absolute fucking idiot, Subaru! Overall though, ReZero was an enjoyable ride throughout and one I definitely recommend watching. Despite the flaws with its characters and plot, the staff have done a fantastic job with the source material they were given, resulting in a show that looks great, sounds great, and to its credit, contains one of the best episodes of anime I've seen in a while that had my jaw on the floor. It's definitely not as deep or as fleshed out as it pretends to be, as once the shock of every event wears off, there's nothing much else to carry it. But that doesn't stop it from being really entertaining when you're watching it. So yeah, that was pretty much it. But if, like me, you're tired of seeing Beskar Subaru suffer so much, and just wished he'd save us all the hassle and just jump off the planet already so he can restart again, well, I've just figured out the perfect way to cheat the system. Whoops. Hey guys, unfortunately my camera's broken, so no on-camera appearance today. But thank you very much this month to Craig Watson, Shameless, Laocan, and everyone else on Patreon for supporting me in making this video possible. ReZero is also available on Crunchyroll, so you can go to crunchyroll.com/theanimezone for a free month of premium membership. And if you're new here, you can check out my other stuff in the links here, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Anyway, that's it from me today. I've been Giguk, and I'll see you all next time.